This election is America's last stand. Tomorrow is finally Election Day, which means we only have one day until we find out if we'll be able to afford groceries in the next few years without worrying about our budgets. It means we only have one day until we find out if the southern border will ever be secured. And it means we only have one day until we find out if this great country of ours will stay on the wrong track or get back on the right track where it belongs. War is erupting all over the world stage. Our country has been flooded with upwards of anywhere from 12 to 15 million illegal immigrants, and the number could be even higher. And nearly 4 years of bad governance has put us in a very weak position, politically, economically, militarily, you name it. The Biden-Harris administration has abused, deceived, and robbed the American people of their very own country, and now it's time to hold them accountable for their careless actions. And to vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for the status quo, which means 4 more years of mass censorship, mass illegal surveillance, mass illegal immigration, and promoting war instead of peace on the world stage. It would also be 4 more years of record high inflation, record high interest rates, and little to no economic growth, as evidenced by the October jobs report that was just released on Friday. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found that we only added 12,000 new jobs, marking the lowest number seen since December of 2020, and the unemployment rate held at 4.1%. We lost roughly 46,000 manufacturing jobs, largely due to the ongoing labor strike between Boeing and its unionized factory workers, and the hospitality industry also saw a decrease of about 4,000 jobs. Job loss across the board. Meanwhile, the public sector, the government sector, added several thousand new jobs, which means us taxpayers will eventually be made to pay even more money in taxes, and that's going to hurt everybody. Everybody. Now, President Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, also had a brilliant take on this jobs report at his campaign rally yesterday in New Hampshire.
The jobs report just a couple days ago said that the American economy lost 28,000 jobs in the private sector. But we created a lot of jobs for government bureaucrats. We lost 46,000 jobs in the manufacturing sector, but we created a lot of good jobs for Kamala Harris's government buddies.
Well said. Very well said. That is exactly right. And you know what? The reckoning is here. And it's time for us to finally get back to the days of fiscal responsibility instead of reckless government growth, unsustainable printing of cash, and wasteful spending habits. As it currently stands, the federal government is nearly $36 trillion in debt. And yet, the Biden-Harris administration is throwing even more money at inefficient and wasteful bureaucracies that don't benefit us whatsoever. They've also given hundreds of millions of dollars to foreign countries such as Ukraine, and they've spent several billions of our dollars on free accommodations for illegal immigrants. That is betrayal right there. And to that point, this election is about ultimately deciding what kind of country we want to be, or if we even want to have a country at all. President Trump and Kamala Harris are radically different people with drastically different track records and vastly different visions for our future. And they appear to be in an astonishingly close race. Things are very close. In fact, President Trump has erased his previous deficit against Kamala Harris in the final pre-election poll from the New York Post, with each candidate receiving 49% support among likely voters. Voters are deadlocked on the question of which candidate would improve their quality of life, with both candidates also receiving support from 44% of survey respondents, and I, for one, am shocked to see that. But what's not shocking is the record high level of early voter turnout that we've seen in the last few weeks. According to the Associated Press, more than 4.2 million ballots have already been cast in North Carolina, surpassing the state's previous early voting record of 3.63 million votes from the election of 2020. And when including absentee ballots, more than 4.4 million votes have been cast. And that's in a state which was severely damaged by Hurricane Helene less than 6 weeks ago. It is incredible, and clearly people understand what's at stake in this election. Ultimately, I suspect most people can see that the choice we have to make boils down to just one simple question. And President Trump raised that question last night at his rally in Macon, Georgia.
I'd like to begin by asking you a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? With your vote on Tuesday, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country. And I will bring back the American dream. We're going to bring back the American dream.
Indeed, the American dream is on the ballot. That is what's at stake. For us, for future generations, it's perfectly clear. We can either preserve this country as the founding fathers created it, or we can watch as Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party radically transform this country into a one-party leftist police state. It wouldn't happen overnight, and it wouldn't happen all at once. However, our country would continue down the road of big government authoritarianism one step at a time. And eventually, our constitutional republic would be gone. And once it's gone for good. Republics come and go all the time. That's what history shows us. And tomorrow isn't guaranteed for us. We have to fight for this country. But ultimately, the American people also deserve a lot better than Kamala Harris. We deserve someone who doesn't lie all the time and who doesn't circumvent the election process itself by accepting a presidential nomination without even receiving one single vote. We deserve someone who can actually articulate their message in public and private without a teleprompter, without notes, and without coaching for weeks on end. And in just the past few weeks, both President Trump and J.D. Vance, his running mate, went on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast for 3 hours each. And yet, neither Kamala Harris nor Tim Walz have appeared on the show at all. So how is it that Kamala could be the next commander-in-chief of the U.S. military when she can't even do an unscripted and unedited interview? It just doesn't make any sense. Zero sense whatsoever. We have a chance to make this country better, stronger, freer, and perhaps even more united than it ever has been before. So it would be extremely painful to see people squander that opportunity by voting for Kamala Harris. This is truly our last chance to turn things around, and we can't let it slip away.